Have you ever had the experience when someone is sitting too close to you and you wish they took a step back? You'd say they kind of invaded your personal space. Or maybe you were in a situation when you wanted to say no to something, but you struggled to do that and later regretted it. Sometimes when somebody says something that feels very hurtful, we say they crossed the boundary. And this is the topic of this video: personal boundaries. I will look at the function of boundaries, what healthy boundaries look like, and how boundaries form and how they get compromised, as well as what is happening at the biophysical level. So just as the skin marks the physical boundary between the inside and outside of our bodies, there is also an energetic dimension to boundaries. And this energetic boundary defines our personal space, the three-dimensional space above, below, and around us. Because energetic boundaries are invisible, it is not generally understood that they are real and that they can have profound implications for our lives. How do energetic boundaries function? Here are a few things to understand about boundaries. They buffer us from the outside world and help us interact with others. When they are intact, they provide a sense of personal safety and help us set limits, appropriate limits. A boundary impingement or rupture usually would create a sense of threat and would provoke anxiety for a person. And that is because we are not usually consciously aware of them. And only when there is a violation of our boundaries, or in the absence of them, the ensuing distress that is experienced lets us know that something is not okay. When a traumatic event happens that is unexpected, before we are able to orient ourselves to danger, it can leave a person with a sense that threat can come anytime from anywhere. With early childhood trauma, when there is chronic early threat, boundaries are never formed or are severely compromised. For example, as in the case when a child's needs are neglected on a regular basis. When boundaries are compromised or missing, people start showing certain symptoms. Here are three of them that are kind of naturally interrelated. When boundaries are compromised, one of the main symptoms is sensibility to the environment, to any environmental stimuli, such as human contact, sounds, smells, light, different toxins, touch, allergens, and even electromagnetic activity. This naturally leads to a sense of overwhelm. These people are easily overwhelmed in any social situations, especially when out, and thus there is the need to isolate as a third symptom. And this fits in well with the dissociative lifestyle that I covered in a previous video. And so as energetic boundaries form with healing, often people would describe that they became less sensitive to a lot of the things. Here are some examples of compromised boundaries. People describe themselves as having a raw feeling of walking around without skin, as if without skin, flooded by the environment, particularly human contact. And also this sense of spilling out and not knowing the difference between self and others, or the inner experience from outer experience. Hard to differentiate. Everything seems to be merging. So this energetic merging with people, animals, or just the environment. Another symptom is an extreme sensitivity to other people's emotions. So they would tend to get too involved with others or try to be very people-pleasing or avoidant because of getting caught up and flooded in the other people's moods or states. And this is one cause of the continual sense of threat that leads to hypervigilance, a sense that danger can come from anywhere at any time. So they will use the protective mechanism of interpersonal distance and self-isolation as a substitute to compromised boundaries. Hypervigilance or hypovigilance in general, or in specific directional vectors, such as from behind, for example. So this kind of allows breaches of personal space without being able to say no. In other words, looking over your shoulder excessively, or completely not looking, just even when maybe it would be appropriate to be cautious. But because of this, my needs don't matter. Whatever happens, there is nothing that I can do anyway. So there is this kind of completely giving up and not making an effort even when it would be appropriate, to feeling uncomfortable in groups and crowds, which can manifest either as withdrawal or attention-seeking behavior. And with this, it's easy to see how they fit in well with the insecure attachment styles, the anxious attachment, the avoidant attachment, or a combination of these two. So with the hypervigilance, it's easier to get it, especially in social settings. There's a tendency to withdraw, to hold yourself back, or feel kind of tense from too much interaction and find a place to isolate. With hypervigilance, it will play out as in attention-seeking behavior, feeling like a need to push boundaries, to provoke and cross boundaries with others, as if to test others. Do they see me? Am I still accepted? Am I safe? How soon before they reject me? Or do my needs count? Also, my needs don't count. I'm okay with everything. I'm of less importance, so I will let people just overstep their boundaries with me, as long as I'm kind of part of the clan or part of the group. Talking very loud, making commentaries that might seem too excessive or extreme or exaggerated, so as if to just test. And it's different than just being open and friendly and being this outgoing, pleasant personality. This is more of a tendency towards drama. Agoraphobia, or a sense of threat and unsafety in open spaces. Of course, environmental sensitivities, as mentioned, and allergies. Just the presence of allergies often will be an indicator of these compromised energetic boundaries because of early childhood trauma. Consequently, people will develop strategies to minimize their contact with other human beings. So we mentioned the tendency to maintain this interpersonal distance and self-isolate as a mechanism to substitute for the compromised boundaries. With the socially phobic individuals or socially anxious, adequate boundaries is one of their missing resources. To see this in contrast, let's look at what healthy boundaries look like. So a person with healthy boundaries, one of the first indicator is they feel very comfortable in their own skin, in who they are. They have no illusion about, I'm in the wrong body or anything of this kind. They are able to feel content and comfortable and safe in their own skin. And also stemming from that, they feel an implicit sense of safety in the world, as opposed to perceiving like danger could come from anywhere and I have to watch out or be hyper vigilant. When you are in a situation where you know that there are dangers, it's very normal to be hyper vigilant. But we are talking about situations when on a daily basis, just going out and doing everyday things for some people feels quite threatening. Usually that is because of different experiences that carry that charge. Another example of healthy boundaries is a clear sense of self and others. This is me, this is them. I can let them be, have their feelings, have their views, while I might feel differently, and that does not impact me so much. I can empathize with somebody going through a hard time, but I don't need them necessarily to feel okay for me to be okay. That doesn't mean I don't care. It's quite the opposite. I want you to feel okay, but I'm still okay even if you're not okay, so I can be with you. I don't need you now to take care of me. Kind of like I can be with you without being like you, if it makes sense. Another one that is probably most spoken of is the ability to say no when you don't want to do things, and set limits in terms of time, kind of activities you'd engage in without feeling threatened, guilty, or compelled in any ways. Another one is knowing the difference between self and others. I know who I am and I make my own decisions. I might think differently and I don't need you to agree with me in everything in order for me to feel okay. In other words, it is a sense of identity, a very secure sense of self and who you are. And it's not defined by what others say, and you don't need others to necessarily define it. And if you're someone who struggles with compromised boundaries, I will focus more on the repair and healing, as well as in what forms neglect towards a baby, towards a child or a person is manifested in the next video. Until then, take care, and please do me a favor, Please share and subscribe. It will give me an extra incentive to continue to make them. So I look forward to seeing the next one. Meanwhile, take care.